Hi everyone, and welcome back to Next Diecast. For today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Lamborghini Aventador made by Bburago. So this is a pretty okay model, I would say, in terms of its detail and everything. I actually got this one from Sam's Club last year for around like $13, $14. You can also find it online in a variety of colors, including orange with a black interior and black wheels. I think there's also a white version with the black wheels. This nice kind of like metallic blue with the two-tone interior and the silver wheels, I think, is the best version because of its detail and its overall look, I would say. When this model first came out, it had a great deal of flaws, and some of the flaws are still there, but they're just not as noticeable as they were when the model first came out back in 2012. But there are still some flaws throughout, and that kind of makes the $50 price tag that it retails for, like on sites like Amazon and whatnot, kind of questionable with the detail that's with some of the flaws that are on here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the details here. We'll take a look at the front to start off with here. Bburago did a pretty, I'd say, good job with these headlights. There's no pegs in them, and they have this kind of like LED pattern down below there, and there's a light bulb right there. Lenses do have a bit of a gap in them, but from a distance you can't really tell. And the background is black, which gives it kind of like a more aggressive look, which looks good, I would say. This badge right here is embossed nicely, centered on there very nicely. It's the Lamborghini and the fighting bull on the front there. These lower grills down here, they do have a textured kind of mesh pattern to them, but they aren't actually like mesh grills. And they're not loose or anything. I know some older versions of the model have loose grills, but these are on there nice and tight. So they did fix that issue, which is nice to see. Paint quality, I would say, is pretty good. This is like a metallic dark blue, and it looks amazing like in the sunlight, as you can see right here. I don't know if the orange and white versions are also like a metallic sparkle paint, but this one I know is, and it looks very, very good. Wheels are a bit on the lower quality side. They kind of bow out a little bit. And there's no suspension or steering. And you would think for $50 with a model that's made by the same company as Maisto, who does have suspension and steering, they would actually put that on their models. But Bburago doesn't usually do that. I don't know why. It's kind of weird, especially because their models are usually about $5 to $10 more than Maisto's, but it's just a bit of an annoying thing, I guess. This model was actually underscaled as well. This is closer to 1/19 scale, I would say. If you put this alongside like an Oricon or the Murcielago by Welly and Maisto, it looks noticeably smaller. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is with this model, which is a bit odd. I don't know why they picked that to make the scale. The wheels themselves, though, they do look pretty good. They have this kind of like flower petal pattern on them. That's kind of a weird comparison, but that's what it looks like to me. And the disc brake does move with the wheel, and the caliper stays stationary, so that's nice to see. You kind of had to do this so the wheels don't bow out. I hope they don't break or anything, because Bburago's quality is kind of questionable. At least the wheels themselves, at least like the visual details look good. It's just like the overall build quality is a bit flawed. Mirrors are nice and sturdy. They are kind of plasticky though. This one you can really tell it's made of plastic. But the paint at least does match with the rest of the car, so they do a good job of kind of hiding that. Panel gaps, there's not too many. Back here it's kind of noticeable with this big gap here, but with the darker paint, it's hard to see any gaps. That's another kind of nice thing about darker colored models, is that if there is any flaws, they're kind of well hidden by the dark paint. Back here, the taillights look okay. They just kind of paint these orange turn signals on top, which look very cheap, especially from a distance. Same thing with this like brake light back here. The Lamborghini badge does look pretty good though. It is a little bit off center, but from a distance it's kind of hard to tell. These grills back here are kind of like the ones on the front in that they're textured mesh, but not actually mesh. Exhaust pipe's a bit cheap looking, but at least it's not loose or anything like that. So yeah, these taillights from the original model that look pretty, flawed and cheap, they stayed, but the rest of the build quality back here, I would say, has improved as this model has been made over the last few years. So there are a few opening features in this model. We'll go ahead and start up here with the front. Not much to see in there, just your standard trunk in a Bburago model. There's no carpeting or anything, of course. but it is like the right size and shape and everything, so that's nice to say. Close that up. This is a bit hard to get open, this engine cover. Here we go. The engine detailing is pretty good, and it's kind of always been good on this model in particular. You can see that it's made of several plastic pieces, all like the mesh and everything is done well. Even the brace above the engine, they do a nice job on. The Lamborghini on either side is actually three-dimensional. The inscription, as you can see here, so that's a nice extra little touch there. I kind of like how they did that. Even with the cover closed, you can really see the nicely detailed engine. These look a bit too thick. But other than that, they did a pretty good job with this engine here. Go ahead and close that up. So one issue that this model has kind of always had was its doors. They should open like this, kind of straight up and out a little bit. On the original model, they open up in a really weird fashion, and they didn't really look that great. And they were pretty loose. This one, they look a bit off-center when they're open. This one is open properly all the way. This one just kind of goes straight up and down. But even when you have the doors open, it looks awesome from any angle, especially like from that angle there. But yeah, I'd say that the doors have improved overall. They do feel a bit loose when you open and close them, but at least, you know, they stay up when you open them. Let's go ahead and take a look at the details in the interior. Door panels look pretty good. There is kind of like a leather pattern on these orange portions here, and there's a silver for the speaker. They're not just like one black piece like they are in like the orange version, so they do look pretty good. The seats look pretty good as well. They are a bit like cheap looking, and they're just kind of one piece. They're not like the backrest isn't separate from the seat itself. But they do look pretty good. They have a nice kind of pattern and a feel to them. I do like this interior color combo. This kind of orange, this kind of tan and black. It looks really, really good. Dashboard detail looks pretty good as well. And in the center stack, all the buttons are separately painted on. Bburago doesn't usually do that, but on this model they did. I like the silver that's around all the buttons as well. The center vents do look a bit cheap, almost like Motor Max quality, so they don't really look that great, to be honest. But the top of the dashboard looks good too. It has like the leather pattern to it. It's kind of hard to see, like there's a better view of the seat there. The paint's a bit off on the seats too, it makes it look kind of cheap. There is a headliner, which is kind of interesting. Bburago almost never puts that on their models, but on this one they did. So that's a nice extra touch there. Kind of makes up for some of the lack of detail in other areas. These pedals just look really cheap. They're just all made of one kind of chrome mold, and they're obvious. It's obvious they didn't really put that much of an effort into it. Kind of ruins the look of the interior a little bit, not too much. But I wish they at least did them as like separate castings or separate pieces. But at least they're done in chrome, so when you hold the camera up like this, you can't really see it. But from here, yeah, you can tell it's just kind of one piece for all three pedals. Not good. The steering wheel, though, does look pretty good. It has the Lamborghini badge embossed in the center, and also the paddles look good as well. So we'll close that up. Undercarriage, nothing really there, as will be on the actual Aventador as well. Overall, I would say this is an okay model. For $45, it is a bit of a stretch. But for the Sam's Club or wholesale club price, I'd say it's a pretty good buy if you want to add a Lamborghini to your collection for a cheap price. As I said earlier, this is available in several different colors and whatnot. So I would leave it up to you to decide if you want to spend, $45 on this. For that price, I would probably recommend the Welly version instead of this one, because the Welly version has side windows, it has better detailing on the interior, and just overall, it's a better detailed car. But if you can find this one for the Sam's Club or wholesale club price, I would say it's worth getting just for the sake of it being really, really cheap. Hope this helps. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and comment down with any questions. And as always, make sure you follow my Instagram page. It's called Nick's Diecast page. It's all lowercase and no spacing. Thanks for watching.